When we look at leaders, there seems to be many different types. So, what would you define a leader, or how would you define a leader, and what would you define leadership as?
Well, I think leadership is about uniting people on a path to achieving a common goal or an objective. It's not necessarily doing things, but it's creating a vision. It's providing the tools and the access, the encouragement, the feedback that people need to achieve whatever their role is in that. I think just like in communication, people grasp things differently. I think when you think about styles of leadership, they're different as well. You can have someone that tends to be more of a rah-rah leader, hey, let's go, we got this to do. You've got others that are more of a quiet type, kind of behind the scenes reinforcing, and they all work. You just have to find what's right for you. And I think ultimately, if you can make that connection with people, no matter what style or skill you have, then you can be successful as a leader.
Who is a person or a group of people that inspired you to become the leader that you are today?
Well, first and foremost, I'd say it was my parents. I think from my father, I learned discipline, work ethic. From my mother, kindness, maybe a compassion for others. I was involved in Boy Scouts, and I had a scoutmaster for the whole time I was in, who I became very close with. And he was a great mentor to me on many different things. So he was a good one. And then I worked in high school and college for a small business, was a restaurant hotel, and it was family owned. And the gentleman that ran it, I got to be pretty close with. And he allowed me to kind of take more roles within that group, and trusted me and allowed me to kind of develop and take projects on and have responsibility, even though I was very young. So as I think about that, I think they would be the ones I would point to.
There are many characteristics that leaders possess, and the ability to make a decision is one of them. How has your ability to make decisions helped you in your endeavors as a leader?
Well, I think that decision making is a learned skill. So it's not something you're born with. I think you can learn this, and everyone can develop it. You'll hear some people talk about, oh, I use my gut, or I use my instincts to make decisions. And then you'll have others that kind of look at it more analytically. You're going to say, well, I'm going to gather the data. I'm going to look at all of the information, and I'm going to weigh it and study it, and then I'm going to make a decision. Either can work. So I think for myself, I like having some analysis that supports what I want to decide. But I think the other thing that helps, as you grow in your life, you experience things, both good and bad. And I think when you pair having, an ability to have some analysis with experience, it really lets you come to most good decisions. And I think I'd point to those two things. I think the other key part of decision making, and I think a lot of people forget this or ignore it, but it's the willingness to change if things aren't going the right way. And you can think about it as maybe too much ego, or or stubborn, or whatever it is. But I think successful decisions most times involve something that changes along the way, and you have to adapt and fix it. So I think if you find a way that works for you with whatever that is, but then the willingness to look at it and with an open mind and change if you have to.
Finally, if you were to speak to a younger Mr. Hartz, what piece of advice would you like to give to him?
Um, this one's easy, I think, for me, because I talk to my kids about it. Uh, the best experiences in life cost little to no money. right? It's time you spend with your kids or your family or your friends. So I guess I would say, don't be afraid to try different experiences. Don't be afraid to take, a different job, because they all offer you a chance to learn. And the other piece of this, which is pretty important, is they aren't forever. So you could take something, you could spend a year or two trying it, and if it doesn't work, you move on to something else. And I think as a younger person, I didn't think about that. I may have not taken some opportunities because I thought I didn't want to kind of pigeonhole myself for the rest of my career. Um, but I think as an older adult thinking about it, I think we realize that failure is temporary, and you can get right back up tomorrow and you can move on to something else. So, I think you learn that you can't worry about what others think about you. You can only worry about what you do and what you think, right? So I guess my advice would be fearless. Don't be afraid.